Chapters 1 through 4 Analysis. The first chapters of To Kill a Mockingbird establish Scout's narration, which is a dual combination of her adult perspective, looking back on the events of her childhood in Maycomb, and her child perspective, observing the world with a sense of wonder, curiosity, and first-time discovery. The novel's adult-looking back frame gives the reader access to mature reflection and analysis, including the history and social hierarchies of Maycomb. The novel's strong inclusion of Scout's child perspective characterizes it as a Bildungsroman, or coming-of-age story. The first chapters paint a vivid portrait of Maycomb as a slow-moving southern town where there was nowhere to go, nothing to buy, and no money to buy it with, page 6, insinuating the wide-spanning effects of the Great Depression. Scout also describes Maycomb as a town with strong social hierarchies and distant social boundaries, page 6, between groups of different socioeconomic and racial backgrounds. She suggests that the Depression has left Maycomb's citizens with a sense of instability and insecurity that extends to all levels. Atticus said professional people were poor because the farmers were poor, page 33. Furthermore, she implies that this sense of financial instability makes Maycomb's citizens even more anxious about maintaining these boundaries. Arthur Boo Radley is the novel's first example of a Maycomb resident who does not conform to the structures of these boundaries, choosing to associate with the lower-class Cunningham boys and ultimately getting into trouble with the law. After Mr. Radley locks his son away in their house, the family both heightens their strict personal boundaries, guarding the reputation of the family, and creates a barrier between themselves and the Maycomb community. As Scout explains, of all days, Sunday was the best for formal afternoon visiting. Ladies wore corsets, men wore coats, children wore shoes. But to climb the Radley front steps and call, "Hey," of a Sunday afternoon was something their neighbors never did. The Radley house had no screen doors. Page 10. Because the Radley family does not adhere to the social norms of Maycomb, they are subject to suspicion and vicious gossip from neighborhood residents. Though the gossip is absurd, including tales that the Radley pecans are poisoned and Boo creeps around at night, the Finch children accept this gossip at face value, not yet possessing the maturity and deductive reasoning to see through it. It is significant that a number of outsiders are introduced in the first chapters of To Kill a Mockingbird. As an outsider from Meridian, Mississippi, Dill exposes Scout and Jem to new ideas and experiences, such as his intensive knowledge of cinema, as well as new perspectives, generating a greater level of fascination with the life of Boo Radley. Scout's teacher, Miss Caroline, is also an outsider from the more industrial northern part of Alabama, and she brings her own new ideas about how Maycomb schools should function. The first day of school serves as an important learning experience for Scout, though not in the way Miss Caroline intends. Unable to learn through the school curriculum, which fails to accommodate advanced students like Scout, who can already read, she learns through the experience of identifying and empathizing with others. Her midday meal with Walter Cunningham introduces her to the different lifestyle and values of people within the farming class. Walter's conversation with Atticus illustrates that though he might struggle to fit in at school, he is very intelligent and educated in the subject of farming. Furthermore, Scout's conversation with Atticus emphasizes the novel's theme of radical empathy as a means of effecting both personal and social transformation. Adapting this idea to the level of his child's understanding, Atticus asks her to climb into others' skin and walk around in it, page 33. Atticus also begins to suggest how this empathy can be applied to his practice of law, forming a compromise with Scout. "If you'll concede the necessity of going to school, we'll go on reading every night just as we always have." Page 35.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.